or land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the city of Winkler is situated on Treaty 1 land, the home of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that have been made on these territories. We acknowledge that there have been harms and mistakes in the past. We dedicate ourselves to a future based on respect of all peoples, including Indigenous communities, in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration, moving forward to a harmonious and prosperous future together. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular council meeting of April 9th, 2024 be adopted. Mover?
Marvin.
Henry?
Seconder? Henry. Thanks. All in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Don Friesen.
That's carried. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 26, 2024 be adopted. Mover?
Don Friesen.
Don Fair, mover. Seconder, Don Friesen. All in favor?
Yes.
Henry?
That's carried. Finance. Be it resolved that the accounts payable in the amount of $757,994.40 as approved by the Finance Committee be approved for payment. Mover?
Don Friesen.
Seconder?
Henry Siemens?
Check register is attached there. Any questions or concerns? Hearing
Nope.
none. All in favor?
Henry?
Yes, Don.
That's carried. Utility arrears. Be it resolved that the attached utility arrears be added to their respective tax rolls. Mover?
Marvin.
Ooh, that was a bunch. I'll go Marvin and Peter Fraze. So the list is attached here of utility arrears that have not been paid that get added to their property tax rolls. Any questions or concerns?
And question, I guess, for David, is this about to like normal?
Yeah, very, very similar to what we usually see, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Henry?
Don.
That is carried. Wastewater treatment plan resolution. This is a big one. This is something we've been working on for a number of years and have had a couple tries at it as well, but we're excited to move this one forward. Whereas the Winkler wastewater treatment facility project has been closed for tender and the total project costs are estimated to be approximately $56.7 million, including construction, extra work allowance, interest paid, engineering services, hydro services, and contract administration. And whereas the City of Winkler has entered into an agreement with the Manitoba Water Services Board for construction support services of the wastewater treatment facility. And whereas the wastewater treatment facility has received ISIP funding and top-up funding, resulting in the municipal share to be approximately $17.1 million. And whereas Winkler and the RM of Stanley have a cost-sharing agreement, 78.4% to Winkler and 21.6% to Stanley, for the municipal share of construction of the wastewater treatment facility. And whereas the RM of Stanley has confirmed that they have secured adequate funds to pay for their portion. And whereas Winkler has completed the necessary borrowing bylaw 2269-21. And whereas Winkler has dedicated sufficient surplus funds from 2020 and 2021's budget to fund the outstanding amount anticipated for the project. Therefore, be it resolved that Council approve the updated financial information to facilitate and award of the wastewater treatment facility project and amend the existing agreement with Manitoba Water Services Board. Mover.
Marvin.
Marvin
Henry
moves.
Siemens.
Seconder, Henry Siemens. Anything to add to this? Questions or comments?
It's a
Maybe
long-
just to add
maybe
to
what-
some of those comments, this has been a long time coming. It's a project we've worked very hard on. We're very happy that we have the RM of Stanley at the table as a partner to help make it feasible. And to be at this point today is very exciting. In the current climate where it's been really difficult to get projects to come to the cost that we were anticipating, to have our staff be able to work this project to the point that we're able to do so in a way that we can afford is really, really good to see for the City of Winkler.
Well said, Mayor Siemens. Anyone else have any comments?
I started, but he said the same words I wanted to say.
Anything else you'd like to add?
That's good, very good.
This is very exciting as Henry said. We wouldn't be able to grow any further without it, so. Thank you to all involved, especially from the staff side, for making this happen, as there was lots of
Agreed.
detail work. And we're excited to move this forward. So we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor?
Yeah.
Anyone
Henry?
opposed? Hearing none, that is carried. We can move forward. Moving on to transportation. Be it resolved that Winkler Council support the proposed transportation progression strategy as presented in Winkler's public transportation feasibility study. Mover.
Marvin,
Don Fair moves, Marvin seconds. This transportation strategy is a study that was taken on by Stantec for a public transportation feasibility. It is a lengthy report that we have here and outlines options on how to move forward. Has a progression process as well, excuse me. And we'll be starting with the Home to Hub rideshare program with opportunities to continue to grow and expand based on the research we get from that, and also as the area grows and continues to increase demand as that we can afford. So, anyone else have any comments to this?
well, I think, yeah, it's another project that has been a long time coming. I remember many councils ago, Mayor Siemens and I sat on a committee working on this, and it's been talked about for a long time. And I'm very pleased that we've come to this point. Everybody knows that a transit system does not pay for itself. It's expensive, but it's very necessary as a community grows to make transportation equitable for all our citizens. And to be able to move forward in this way, starting off with the rideshare home to hub type of thing, will allow us to, in a sustainable way, an affordable way, find out where the bus routes should be, rather than to set up a bunch of bus routes and buy a bunch of buses and then not know if they're running in the right places. So I think this is their recommendation is something that I look forward to seeing implemented.
Thanks, Marv.
I think this is a really good first step in getting our feet wet in the public transportation business, so yeah.
Any other comments from the gallery? Okay, and then, my last point is just to say thank you for the much input from our community as well. There's a whole long appendix of community feedback, which was great to incorporate into this study. All in favor?
Henry?
Friesen?
Anyone opposed? Well, that's carried. Moving on to waste and recycling. Be it resolved that the Swamp Board minutes for the March 26th, 2024 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Peter?
Seconder?
Michael?
Any comments on the minutes there?
I missed the last meeting, but the minutes showed that we have another operator that's certified, so that's good news. And of course, spring cleanup, there's been garbage flying around from the wind again, so they got youth groups out there in the surrounding fields, even the farmers' yards where it's been collecting in the hedgerows.
Have they started already?
Yeah, they've started the
Okay.
cleanup process, yep, so busy.
Thanks, Pete.
Yep.
All in favor?
Henry
Don
Siemens?
Friesen?
That's carried. Planning Committee. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Planning Committee of March 12th, 2024 be adopted. Mover?
Don Friesen?
Seconder?
Don Fair?
Thanks, Dons. Any comments on the minutes there?
Oh, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. It's all good.
Okay. All in favor?
Henry Siemens?
Don Friesen?
That is carried. Community Services. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Community Services Committee of February 27th and March 12th, 2024 be adopted. Mover?
Peter?
Peter, seconder?
I can help you.
Marvin, thank you very much. Anyone have any comments on these minutes? Number of things about our arena renovation, which will come up later in this meeting, but otherwise, lots of good things to see there.
It's good
All
to
in-
see good to see that the facility is used as much as it is. That's good. Numbers are up.
Absolutely. And our dog park relocation is in there as well, right? Okay, all in favor?
Henry Siemens.
Reason?
That's carried. Be it resolved that the PV Lip meeting minutes for the March 21, 2024 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Michael?
Seconder?
I'll help.
Don Fair? Any comments on these minutes?
No, they, with immigration, they continue to stay busy, obviously, and I know last year, I guess, so not recent, but they've added Tara in Altona, so they've got 3 employees there now, and they are all, staying busy, and
Perfect. Thanks, Michael. All in favor?
Henry Siemens.
On.
That is carried. Be it resolved that the Discovery Nature Sanctuary minutes for the January 30th, 2024 meeting be received for information. Mover?
Henry Siemens.
Henry Siemens, seconder Peter Fraze. Any comments on that one? Hearing none, oh,
I think for them, it's business as usual, getting stuff going for spring and making sure they invite the birds. It looks like they had the bank swallow bank ready for the birds to move in, so
Nice.
they were excited about that one, yeah.
right on. Okay, all in favor?
Henry
Don
Siemens.
Friesen?
That is carried. Be it resolved that this regular meeting of council recess for the purpose of holding public hearings. Mover?
Michael?
Seconder?
Marvin?
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Henry Siemens.
Don?
That is carried. Okay, our first public hearing is for conditional use application number CU 2024-006, located at 450 Roblin Boulevard East. David, you want to?
Yep.
Can we push that one off till the end? We're waiting on someone here yet for that.
How does that work?
I think we can just jump to the next one. That's fine.
You have something to say, Scott?
No,
Okay.
no, that'll work. Then
Okay.
we'll just continue with the next one for now.
Okay. Next one, 14.5.
If you want me to, I can introduce it, and then,
Sure.
so the next, before we start with the public hearings, I will introduce the public hearings. If there's someone here that wants to speak on behalf of the public hearing, we ask you to come up to the mic and please mention your name and your address, and then please address the chair for any comments or questions or concerns that you might have. So this public hearing that we have now here is an application for a variance, and it's variance number 2024-003. The applicant is Matthias Puchner, and the owner is Blue Tech Construction Limited. It's at 31 Rosebud Crescent, and the variance requested is in order to allow the accessory building, which is a sauna, to remain at its current location in the R1 residential lower density zone. And the purpose is, the first one, there's 2 purposes. The first one is to reduce the minimum rear yard north setback from the required 5 feet to 1 foot and 6 inches, and also to reduce the minimum rear yard on the west side setback from the required 5 feet to 1 foot and 6 inches. We have not received any objections at the office here, and like I said, if the owner wants to speak to it, or if someone else would like to speak on behalf of this public hearing, that would be the time for it.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this? Anyone online? Wendy?
Nope.
Staff has no concerns about this?
I mean,
We have that
as
report here.
outlined in the report, there's a
Okay.
condition for the approval, but yeah, if all conditions are met, then
Okay.
staff is fine with it.
Anyone else? Okay, then I'll ask for a mover to close the public hearing. Be it resolved that the public hearing for variance application number VA 2024-003 be closed. Mover?
Peter?
Peter Fraze, seconder.
Marvin?
Thank you, Marvin. All in favor?
Henry Siemens.
Friesen?
That's carried. Be it resolved that the variance application number VA 2024-003 be approved, subject to the owner obtaining a building permit. Mover?
Michael?
Michael, seconded by Don Fair. Any comments or questions?
Does that include then, I know we saw the report to council, that include any other conditions that will be part of it? Or is that the only one?
Scott, sure, head to the mic.
Speak to it?
State your name for everyone online.
Yes. Name Scott Taves, Director of Planning and Infrastructure for the City of Winkler. In our communications with MSTW, it's been in a general conversation when these situations come up, not specifically to 31 Rosebud. It will be reviewed with regards to the proximity to the property line, so there may be, and in other situations, there have been requirements for additional fire guarding to be considered in that application. Not knowing what the building permit all looks like, that still needs to be submitted to my knowledge. Maybe it's been submitted, I'm not sure. We can check on the status of that, but those would be conditions that MSTW has to impose through the building permit process. Yeah.
So all those concerns are addressed in the, if.
They
when
would be
get a
addressed in the
permit.
building permit, yeah. Yeah.
Answer your question, Marv?
Yeah, because I know sometimes, this is something that MSCW would be doing, and sometimes in the past, we have subject to all conditions be adhered to, and so that's what my question was, and so that answers it. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Marv. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Henry Siemens.
I guess nobody's opposed. That is approved and carried. Next one, David?
Yeah, I think we can still move on with the Centennial Arena, and then, unfortunately, at that time, then we have to jump back, so,
Sounds good.
yeah. So do you want to give the introduction to the Centennial
Oh,
Arena
sure.
application?
Okay, so this is a public hearing for bylaw number 2307-23, the Centennial Arena Local Improvement number 46. This is a bylaw of the City of Winkler to authorize the expenditure and borrowing of money for the upgrade and expansion of the existing Centennial Arena as a local improvement. If you're asking why now, why another arena project? Well, a few years ago, after completing the Meridian Exhibition Center, we applied for a renovation grant for the Centennial Arena, not knowing where it would fall in the priority list for the grants. However, we were excited to find out that we did receive this grant and others along with other funding to renovate the Centennial Arena, which is phase 2 of our core recreational redevelopment. The renovation serves to ensure the longevity of operations and significantly improve safety for participants and spectators. The Centennial Arena has had a number of safety concerns related to spectators, and this rehabilitation will enable the community to enjoy and participate in community events that currently would not be possible. A couple other key pieces to this project is upgrading our ice plant and any environmental impacts of that, and other environmental benefits that come alongside the rest of the renovation. The grant received does have some restrictions tied to it, including asbestos removal, keeping the building shell in place, along with a few other items. Why didn't we start this sooner? We had other gate posts to go through before taking these next steps to allow this. We needed to close our tenders on a water treatment plant expansion and our wastewater treatment plant construction in order to review our financial availability for this project. With those projects coming in right around budget, which we were very thrilled about, we are now prepared to take the next steps to borrow these funds to complete this project. This borrowing bylaw allows us to borrow up to $7.5 million, which is required in order for us to qualify for the grant funding options that we are working with. We have selected a design-build project delivery method for this project and have pre-qualified 3 successful design-build firms through an RFP process who will bid on the design and construction of the project. In order to get to this bidding process, though, this borrowing bylaw needs to be in place to have funding available for us to put this design build out to tender. We are very excited to take this next step in the process. Anyone in the public here wishing to speak to this borrowing bylaw, please come to the mic and state your name and address.
I'm Mark Harder from Springfield Bay. And we've had a meeting with some of the residents and business owners in town. And there's a few questions we would like to ask. So I guess one of the questions that came up right off the top was what percentage of taxpayers will be using the rink versus non-tax paying visitors?
An exact number is very difficult to understand because there are many people who come to watch various games that are there, whether it's high school, senior, junior A Flyers. The arena right now is packed for probably tonight right now for a playoff game, but it varies throughout the community.
Okay, because some of the concerns that the guys were talking about is if a resident of Winkler wants their kids to play hockey, they feel that the outstanding communities that do not contribute to tax dollars to the arena, are they being charged a larger fee to play to offset what the citizens of Winkler are paying?
So we used to have a different rate of pay for things like swimming lessons and those types of things. Up until recently, we have come to an agreement with the RM of Stanley that they are beginning to pay a share of recreation fees to us every year to offset costs, not necessarily like this, but in recreation as a whole.
Okay. According to Mortgage Services of Canada, they say 80% of mortgages will be coming up for renewal this year, and we could possibly see payments rising of like 54%. Now, with interest rates going from, like, a lot of them are locked in at 1.92%, and they're going to be seeing 6% interest on their bills now. For many families in the community that are already struggling to buy groceries at inflated prices and fuel at prices like $1.44 a liter, this is going to be very devastating to up their land tax on when they're already struggling. Now, many people in this community, they've either come here from other countries, they maybe came from other areas, and then to buy housing in Winkler is expensive as it is. Now, many of them can't even dream of their kids playing hockey, but yet they will be burdened with raising taxes to accommodate all the people that can. Now, do you guys feel that that is the burden that they should be bearing at this point in time?
I mean, as far as the mortgage rates go, I mean, that's out of our control to a big extent. At our budget meeting 2 weeks ago, which we released our overall budget for the entire city, we did consider this. We also have gone through a large study, though, of our complete asset management plan, and understood that if we don't meet certain other expenses that we were going to be seeing in the next 25 years, we will be burdening our children and our grandchildren for many more years to come. It would have been good for you to be at that meeting as well, but as far as specifically to the recreation, that's a very good question. The impact of this on our entire budget was in that presentation as well, correct?
For recreation?
Yeah.
I mean, the recreation department itself is around the third, around Is it 15% now? I would have to look that up again.
And in general, our budget increase overall was 5%. What more do you want to say to this, Henry?
Thank you very much, Andrew. I think one of the things that we've struggled with, Mark, is exactly some of those affordability pieces. We're left a little bit in a unique spot here because we've never had contribution from the other orders of government towards recreation. And all of a sudden, we end up in a place that Canada is at the table for $7.9 million. Manitoba is at the table for $3.12 million. We have some local sponsorship as well. And we're very, very confident that there's an additional $2.5 million grant coming our way. We're going to be able to be in a place that we're going to invest $7.5 million worth of loans and some reserves that we've already banked for this project to be able to get a $23 million project. That's just something that we would be very poor stewards of our local tax-paying dollars if we didn't take advantage of it. We have an arena that's 56, 57 years old. It needs work. It is tired. It no longer meets the needs of today's attendees. There's some concerns with asbestos and some other mitigation pieces. We're going to have to bring that thing to code in the not too distant future. And then we'll have to do it without the support of these programs. And we'll pay more. And we've looked at these numbers. We would literally be paying more just to bring the arena to code if we walked away from these grants to do the renovation. It's not an easy place, and we did not get here easily. To have 3 projects this size that need to happen today, it's a tough piece to do, but to actually have partners at the table, whether it's the RM of Stanley, whether it's the Government of Canada, whether it's the province of Manitoba now, we just felt that this was the right thing to do at this time. We've extensively discussed this with all of the user groups that use those facilities. They've helped us come up with the types of things that are needed. There's no wish lists in this thing. It's built towards the needs of our community into the future. It's a good place for us to be in terms of contribution from others to make it happen. But we do recognize that there are some difficulties with it whenever we come and we ask the community for additional money.
I also like to add a few notes if I can. Regarding your question, it's 14% for the community services budget overall. But when you look at this local improvement debenture itself, it does state 8% right now as the interest rate. It does state 7.5 million as the overall debenture, and it does state that it's on the length of 15 years. But those are the maximum amounts. Does not mean that the city will actually lock in. Right now, when I look at the market, we can get substantially better rates than the 8%. It's just right now we're setting ourselves up for the city to make sure that we're at least staying within. But that does not mean that we are going to the maximum. So the amount that you saw, for example, on a residential home of $300,000, the impact of $104 that you saw on this local improvement, it's most likely going to be a lot less than that amount. That's
Okay,
the only thing I'd like to mention.
at what tax rate did you arrive at that 104,000? Like there, or 104? Because there's like over 16 different milling rates throughout the different areas of Winkler, right? So is that from the more expensive milling rate, or is it from the lighter one? Like, will all houses see about the same raise?
The mill rate in Winkler is the same for all homes. There's the portion assessment is different, is depending on if your house is a residential house or a commercial house. Let's say if you have commercial property in Winkler, then you have a different portion assessment than your residential house that you have, but the mill rate is the same. And so the mill rate that will be levied for this one will be the same across the city of Winkler. There will be no difference. The only difference will be now it will be based on the assessment. So if you have a higher assessed house, then you will pay a little bit more for this than someone who has a lower assessed house.
Right, and that makes sense. But I was just wondering if there's, like, if you're on Imperial Bay versus on one of the bays by the golf course, like, is their rate the same, tax rates?
The mill rate is completely the same, yeah.
Okay. So, and then another question that came up was, like, according to the Winkler website, this arena now holds 2,000 people. When everything is said and done, after they spend the 23.75 million, it's going to hold 1,300. Does not that not seem regressive to spend that kind of money and hold 35% less people?
So our arena right now, the capacity is 1,300, existing arena.
Okay, the website said 2,000, so that's where I got my information from, on the
Would that
Winkler
be
website.
Total, like with the both sheets of ice combined, maybe? I'm not sure.
We can look at that. I'm not aware that it says 2,000, but we can look at that.
2,000. Okay. Okay, and then, so with these renovations, are they going to tear up the cement where the ice surface is right now?
Correct.
Okay, because one of the guys at the meeting had said that Justin Falk and Eric Fair said it was one of the best ice surfaces that they've skated on, including the NHL arenas. Like, isn't that a bit of a shame to tear something like that up?
It's a shame, but this past season, there's been 3 times where they've had to fix the ice plant. And one time the game actually had to get moved from the Centennial Arena to the Icon Arena because the facility is tired. The pipes underneath the ice surface, they're also leaking. So that's also an issue, but it's in big need of an upgrade. Yes, they have an ice sheet there, but it's on its last leg. Anyone else have any comments to that?
Well, not necessarily to this ice sheet part, but it's just in general. I want to really thank you for looking into this and asking the question, for coming here. It is very important, and I assure you that all these questions have been raised by staff, by fellow councillors, and so on. And I think one of the points that helped me get to this point, especially, was the point that Mayor Siemens made. There is a lot of safety concerns, really, that you don't see on the surface. Some of it might be even accessibility and so on. We hear of people stumbling down and falling down the stairs to the oil room and so on, and electrical and so on, that will need to be done. And as Mayor Siemens so well pointed out, those are things that will have to be addressed within the next few years. And we could spend $8-10 million getting it fixed up, and it would look exactly the way it does today. And so then we, would help me and discussions to say, well, with the help that we get from other orders of government and so on, why don't we go more than just fix it up and leave it still being a 60-year-old arena, but something that's up to par and for the current.
Okay, I can understand that, but that brings me to one of the other questions that they came up with. And now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I am told that residential construction is limited due to maxed out lagoon capacity, and there's numerous roads in Winkler that have poor patch jobs and broken surfaces, and there's many other places where money is needed. Have grants been applied for to fix some of the basic necessities before recreation?
So, as in this meeting here, we had just approved our wastewater treatment plan resolution. So that one is in the works, and as we had talked about there, our borrowing on that was, where was that, David?
The borrowing bylaw itself,
No, just our portion of the wastewater facility.
78%.
No, that's just of the
Oh,
total.
that's
So
between the
78% of 17.1. So
Oh.
we're getting a $57 million wastewater treatment facility for,
it was 17.1 million, roughly, right now. That's
Okay.
what the resolution will be at.
so that is already being committed to, so that we can grow, yes. Scott, you have something to say?
Just to clarify that number,
That's
it's
in this
the 78.4% of the 17.1, so that's roughly 13.4, 13.5
Right.
million.
I would like to point out as well, Andrew, if you'd allow me to, that there are currently no building restrictions in the city of Winkler due to capacity. Our planning is such that we're ahead of it. There is no imminent danger of development stopping. because we do have capacity for everything that's been approved so far. And now with this, as soon as we start construction here and award, then even future approvals would not be in jeopardy. So that part, Mark, you can be assured, there's absolutely no danger of that at all. The second piece too is we're aggressively on road patching on an annual basis. If there are particular streets that are of a concern, and I would say outside of North Railway between Main and 32, because that one is being replaced this year. Our hope was last year, it had structurally failed last year, but the budget wouldn't allow it to happen last year. Tenders have been received, have been closed. I believe we have awarded or will award literally within days that project. It came in under budget. We're excited to see that one move forward. But on an annual basis, we're very aggressive on patching and repair. Our staff does a really good job of getting out there and checking the condition of all of our roads to make sure that we stay ahead of them before it gets too bad. That said, this winter, you will see some additional potholes out there this year, because this year was very, very hard on our streets. And those streets and those roads that are province of Manitoba responsibility, we're working together with them to get their crews out to tackle it. Main Street and Highway 32 and Highway 14, those are all provincial roads. Our own internal streets, our team is on it and working hard on it already. But it is a good point to note, Mark. This year, driving on streets isn't as much fun as we would like it to be.
I would also like to say, Mark, I mean, I would highly encourage you to come to our next financial plan hearing, where we do address these things. For example, I mean, council has committed to an asset management plan, and the asset management plan includes a lot more than just roads and sidewalks. It includes the water, sewer facilities, and so on. And council has committed to it. We are working towards funding the asset management plan. Is it fully funded today? No, it's not. That's why there is infrastructure at times that fails, but we are working towards a fully funded asset management plan, hopefully. So, and like I said, for next year, I would highly encourage you to come out, and then we talk more about that at our financial plan hearing.
Okay. See, and another thing that came up was building infrastructure for new businesses that wanted to come to town. Do we have, land available? Do we have roads and whatever is needed to get businesses to come to town? Because that will be tax generating revenue rather than revenue eating project. Like, if you look online, you look at the arenas will never make money. It's just one of those things, right? But what people are concerned about is, if we understand you want to take advantage of this grant that is being given, but we also want to understand that with the interest that we will be paying on $7.5 million at 8% or less, whatever it is, it's still going to eat up the majority of whatever the government grants us. And for that amount of money that is going to be put in to retrieve the government grant, it could go a long way with basic necessities. And so the concern was, can't we use money to build revenue generating aspects rather than money losing aspects?
I appreciate that. I would argue to some extent that having recreation services that bring out outsiders coming into our community to spend dollars at our businesses, spend dollars at our hotels, also helps our community grow. The more attractive your recreation services are, the more people can come to our community. Also, we do have a secondary plan, which is a plan that we put forth a few years ago, studying the outside portion of our city limits that is undeveloped, and have targeted different zones and what we would intend for them to be, which doesn't mean that that's set in stone, but it's a goal for how we want to expand, and we definitely keep that in mind every year. Henry, you'd probably be better to speak to this.
I appreciate that, Andrew. I think from a development side, Mark, we do have a fair amount of development land available. And we do have a number of developers who are developing it and building it out. And you will see this summer again, lots of business growth in the city of Winkler. The conversations that our planning department is having already with developers and people who are interested in doing things, at times it feels like it's been bigger than ever. The city of Winkler itself today doesn't have industrial land available, but there are 3 or 4 developers who do, and they're at various stages of bringing that online. And we're hopeful that we're going to be able to develop some of those lands. In the past, the city of Winkler itself, when we're in the business, we're pretty tough to compete against because we own the land, we develop the land ourselves. So when people have lands, they just simply choose to wait until there's a better time. Our suggestion to them today is that this is that better time. If you have industrial land, if you have lands that would easily convert within the city of Winkler limits, and there's a number of people that do, City Manager Jody Penner and some of those groups have had regular conversations, really good conversations that show that we're going to be closer to that point. But the piece that I would like to say is that there will be tremendous business growth again in Winkler this year. Those opportunities are there, and they're there because we've worked hard to make sure that we've covered all the bases. We're not a one-trick pony. We do want to make sure that we have shopping that suits the needs of the community. We want to make sure that we have recreation that suits the needs of our community. We want to make sure that the services that we have make Winkler an appealing place. And part of that also involves making sure that there's recreational opportunities there. When we're looking to recruit some of the healthcare professionals that our community so desperately needs, we hear quality of life to be very high at the top of their list. All of these professionals have options in terms of where they go. And when our recruitment people, when our healthcare board is sitting across the table from them and having conversations, and we hear out that we lose out because we don't have some of these things, it encourages us again to continue to move forward in a way that makes sure that we're building a community for the entire community, which means we need to have different things for different people.
See, when I look at the area there where Schweitzer Mauduit used to be, where the flax bales were, we see all those commercial buildings go up there south of Winkler, where the new co-op gas card lock is there. I'm assuming Winkler does not get tax dollars on that because they're out of town limits, right? So that's why I'm wondering if we have the opportunity to give them an option that they could have built here before they moved out there. And I mean, if they decide to go build there because tax is cheaper, I mean, that's fine. But are we doing everything we can to make sure they have opportunity to build in Winkler?
We did everything we can when we moved forward with Clover Creek. And like Henry said, though, the remaining lands are not owned by the city. They're owned by private developers, just like the our Rhineland one and south of Winkler as well. Henry, you'd like to say anything more?
I would like to touch on that a little bit. One of the things that we have here, Mark, and it's a really good news thing, but it happens to every very rapidly growing community. We become, nothing creates competition like success. And the more success we've had and the faster Winkler has grown, then other areas around us or close to us say, wait a minute, we want some of that as well. And then we have that Rhineland Park that's right on the edge of Winkler on the east, and then the park just south of Winkler. There's another one to the west of Winkler as well that's launching and getting going. We believe that when the region is successful, we are successful. So we've certainly grown very rapidly. We're one of the fastest growing cities in Canada, continue to be. And based on what we're hearing from immigration numbers, we're likely growing at about 1,000 people a year right now. It's absolutely amazing how fast we're growing. Part of that also means, though, that the region itself is growing. And if, in fact, we have some of these things happening on our border, it again gives opportunities for our retailers and our business people to have additional opportunity at additional people. As much as we would like to have everything in Winkler, it's simply not fair or reasonable to expect. But as we continue to be successful, there will certainly be continued development around Winkler. And that's a positive for us as a region.
Okay. One thing both you and Henry have commented on was making Winkler attractive and attracting people. Now, I don't do anything at the arenas. I'm not a hockey player. I'm not a hockey fan. But one of the concerns that some of the facility users mentioned at one of the meetings was they said when you go to play hockey, often there's garbage all over the floor. They feel that it's not being taken care of. They said the garbage bins are overflowing, and they've been sending me pictures of ball diamonds with tall grass. Apparently, they had raised money to sod the one ball diamond, and somebody went out and they scalped. I don't know if the mower was crooked, had a flat tire, or whatever. They scalped the lawn. They said that those rooms by the stage had water flowing over for 3 days before it was addressed. Apparently, not this winter, but the winter before, the swimming pool, 6 bathrooms, and the pool, there was 6 bathrooms that didn't get winterized, costing the taxpayers an enormous amount of money. You should check with Protect Plumbing and Heating what that bill was, but apparently I was told $30,000 would not cover what it cost us failing to winterize these rooms and stuff. And the concern a lot of the people had is, how does the Director of Community Service make a larger wage than most citizens in Winkler and still
Excuse me,
not be accountable?
Can I interrupt you, Mark?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for jumping in, Andrew, if you would indulge me as chair.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I think if you have some concerns, I would encourage you strongly on operational concerns to reach out to Jody Penner, our city manager. His contact information is on our website. He would be happy to discuss this with you. If you feel during that conversation that you're not feeling what you need, please do ask Jody to give me a call. I'm certainly happy to join that conversation as well. I would like to see that this conversation remain with this hearing. I believe it's inappropriate for us in a public meeting to discuss items that may or may not be pertinent to the thing, and particularly once we start talking about individual people. I'd prefer that conversation to be had with Jody from an operational point of view. He will hear you out. He will address those concerns. Some of these concerns have already been mentioned to us in different manners and different ways. Jody will have answers to quite a few of them. Again, though, if you feel after that conversation that you haven't been heard, I'm happy to have a conversation with you as well, one-on-one, to go through these items, just to make sure that you have all of the answers that you need. But I would appreciate that comments at this hearing be directed specifically towards the item on the agenda, if you don't mind.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. The point
Thank
I
you,
was
Mark.
making is, how are we going to maintain this new arena? They say that they want to put seats in versus benches, and it's going to require more work to clean up around the seats and benches and stuff. And the concern that they were expressing at the meeting was, how are we going to maintain this new rec area if we can't maintain what we already have?
I mean, that's a good question. We will have to ensure that we have adequate staffing in place for this. Yep. We haven't ever cleaned up around bleachers, so that's something that we will be learning as well. But these seats should fold in, so we should still be able to sweep up in a similar way. You're still wiping benches just like you're wiping seats, but as far as
I
other
really
specific,
like that.
go ahead, Henry.
Sorry to interrupt, Andrew. I really like the comment, though, of this is a concern, and we sure want you to take that into consideration as you get ready to open this facility. When we're complete with it and we open it, we're going to be excited about it, and we're going to want to invite our local community and our greater community to see it. So if there are some things we need to be particularly aware of, taking notes through this, and this will certainly be added to the list of things that we need to be aware of and pay attention to. That's a really, really good point, Mark. If there are concerns, that we need to make sure that we're aware of them and pay attention to them.
Okay. Well, you know what, guys? I thank you for hearing me out. I definitely was not intending to offend anybody. It's just these are questions that have come up, and if you guys are keeping those in mind when you're making your decision, we appreciate that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, if I
for
may, one more
Thank you.
comment, or set of comments. Thank you very much for doing this, and I'm glad you're asking us these questions because it helps you and the taxpayer, the public, or neighbors to see the process that we have been going through so far. This council was not hell-bent on doing the arena. We put up gate posts because we knew of the limited amount of budget that we would have. And so, for instance, we said a couple of gate posts. One was, let's see how the water treatment plant budget, or the water treatment project, the pricing will come in. And if that would have come in quite a bit higher, that would mean, let's say if it had come in 2 or 3 million higher, that would mean now we have 2 or 3 million less to do it. The next gate was the wastewater treatment plant. And if you were here a couple of years ago, we were in the high 70s, mid-high 70s million.
It was 60-something.
60-something, okay, I'm a little bit over it. 60-something, close to $70 million. And we said that's just impossible for us to put our share in. And so we rejigged it and worked hard, and our staff has worked for 5 years maybe on this whole thing, and maybe longer already. But coming to that, and that was another gate post. We said if that one goes over, also by a couple million or more, then we'd be sitting at 5 or 10 million. We could easily be sitting at 5 million or more. That would have, then we would have just said, and that was the gate where we set some of the gate posts. Other grants, funding, said we're not going to build it at all costs. And so we looked at all this, and I think it's, in my mind, it's a perfect storm. We've had so many over the last couple of years, tenders come in way over budget in the last number of years. To have now tenders come in at or very close to budget is something that helped me at least to support the idea of doing this, and the fact also, as has been said a number of times before, that we have to do something shortly anyway. And so we could spend 7, 6, 7, 8, I don't know how much we'd have to spend to do the safety concerns, and we'd have the same building we have now. So those are some of the things, and you've helped us tonight to share the things that we've gone through and the discussions that we've gone through. So, and I hope that has helped you to understand too.
Absolutely. We want the public to make sure you keep us honest, and that we are taking these steps and doing our best to make wise decisions for us now and also for the future. So thank you very much, Mark. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak to this?
I just want to say that when we started with this, I had far more questions than answers, and like Marvin said, we've gone through the process. We've made sure that we were frugal. We made sure that we counted all our pennies in the piggy bank, that we could do this, and I've come on board since. So I think this is a good thing, simply because bringing the building up to code had to be done regardless. And that in itself was a huge cost. And now we have 2 levels of government really helping us out, so that makes this an affordable thing to do.
I think to add to that, definitely this adds value to the Flyers, to minor hockey tournaments and all that, and the businesses, but also the skating club. It'll bring value to the schools that use it during the day, and it'll also allow public skating to continue for those that simply don't want to play hockey, and just so much more than just a hockey facility.
Anyone else? No closing comments there, Henry?
Nothing for me. Thank you for the hearing and thank you for the conversation and definitely Mark for coming out and asking some questions.
And thanks for getting together with your neighbors and community friends to come up with these comments. Okay. We have a mover and a seconder on this one?
Yeah, you have to close the public hearing now, yeah.
Okay, so that was the motion. Oh no, I haven't done the motion yet. Okay. Excuse me. Where's that item though?
At 14.9?
14.9.
Be it resolved that the public hearing for bylaw number 2307-23 be closed. Mover?
Michael?
Seconder?
Peter?
Any last comments? All in favor?
Henry Stevens?
Don Friesen?
That is carried. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2307-23 for Centennial Arena Local Improvement Number 46 be read a first time and to be submitted to the municipal board for approval. Mover?
Marvin?
Don Fair, move second by Marvin. Any other comments again? Before we approve this? Okay, all in favor?
Don Friesen?
Henry Stevens?
That is carried. Okay, David, let's go
Yeah,
back
no,
up
we're
to the,
jumping back to 14.2.
yep,
And I will introduce the next public hearing. This is an application for conditional use. Application number is CU 2024-006. The applicant is Schnell Industries Incorporated. The owner is Schnell Group Incorporated. It's at 450 Robin Boulevard East. And the request is in order to construct phase 2.1 and 2.2 as a separate principal use building. And the subject is multiple main use buildings as a planned unit development is a conditional use in the M industrial zone. And again, if someone wants to speak on behalf of this application, please come up to the mic and state your name and address, and please address the chair.
absolutely. Just state your names, please.
My name is Evan. I'm on behalf of Ed Penner Construction.
Mike Friesen, owner of Schnell Group.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, so we are proposing to build a multi-phase production, our multi-phase manufacturing facility at 450 Robin Boulevard East. Starting off with phase 2.1, and then continuing on for four phases. Conditional variance is for a multi-property dwelling or
Multi-use building.
multi-use building. So what we are looking for in this phase 2.1 is we're looking for an additional water line, additional sewer line to our new building to mitigate any kind of safety concerns from people wandering from phase 2.1 to the original facility. Anything you'd like to add, Mike?
I'll just add, first of all, appreciate your time and consideration and also the welcomeness in this community here. I'm the outside dollars investing in this community, and it's a great opportunity here. So yeah, as Evan mentioned, this is part of a larger phase program, and the reason these buildings are separated too is this is kind of the most logical path to start and then eventually connect everything together so it merges back into one. So naturally, this used to be a multi-lot, and we had amalgamated it, and we could have kept it separate, but we decided to amalgamate and then decided to build it. And as Evan mentioned, we're really taking it a step forward and adding additional life safety supports of going full sprinklers and all that, which we weren't required to, but decided to anyways for various reasons because it was needed down the road. And I've personally been through an industrial fire before, and I don't want to go there again. So I'm all for doing that extra work at this point in time.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this? You guys can stay up here for now, but any comments from council or staff?
Say welcome to Winkler.
So you had mentioned that your lot consolidation, it's in process?
So the lot consolidation, under my understanding, had been done. The property line hadn't been taken out of land titles.
Okay,
So that's what Mike and Brenton from the Schnell Group are working on right now to get a survey done and get that property line removed from land titles to amalgamate all those lots into one large lot.
right, okay.
And it looked like you were going to have a comment on that, no? That was, yeah. Yeah, perfect, thank you, yeah.
So you're just gonna build out one building this year that you're to the east of you?
Yeah, currently this year is the first step. It's kind of we'll call it the keystone to it all. The second expansion is a much easier thing to do because all the main infrastructure is there. It's more so adding space. But yeah, it's I've made some of these plans before, and once you get the hard part over, the rest of it comes pretty easy. So I think it is. We say it's a 5 to 10 year plan, but there's a pretty good chance it'll go faster than that. So, but it kind of all starts here with this anchor point.
And I wanted to add, phase 2.1 and 2.2 are planned for this year. Phase 2.1 being a pre-engineered steel building, and phase 2.2 being a conventional steel office space for them to continue to grow.
Okay.
I believe these three conditions have also been communicated to them. Have you guys have been aware of the future compliance with landscaping requirements, capping existing water services, and then lot consolidation, which you already heard?
Yeah, that is correct. The capping the additional water services, there was some conversation going on with that. As far as the sewer service, I know that was one of the conditions that were put in. We were requesting to allow dual sewer service to the facility to avoid us from having to put in a lift station and pump from new to old. But as far as capping existing water service, that has been communicated and that is in the plans.
Okay.
Oh, sure, sir.
So we may not have been able to send the revised copy of the report to council. We removed capping the sewer service in the report as well, and the resolution is actually adjusted as well.
All right, just water services, yep,
Oh,
Correct.
yeah, great.
sorry. Anyone else?
No, I think it's good to see your intentions. I've had small dealings with Schnell and since they've come, and it's great to see you being a part of the community, and so and then just with the intention that you're indicating and how you want to build it and so on, it's a good fit, I think.
Great.
Right on. Anyone else wishing to speak to this? Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah,
Thank you guys for your time.
Echo what Marvin said. We really appreciate you investing in our community. Okay, if nothing else, then be it resolved that the public hearing for conditional use application number CU 2024-006 be closed. Mover?
Michael?
Don Friesen?
Thank you. Any other questions before we close the hearing? All in favor?
Henry
Don
Siemens?
Friesen?
And that is carried. Be it resolved that CU 2024-006 council approve conditional use, oh, that's interesting, I read that a little different. Be it resolved that council approve conditional use number CU 2024-006 subject to future compliance with the City of Winkler landscaping requirements prior to completion of Phase 4.0, capping of the existing water services at the mains as a condition of the approval of proposed Phases 3.2 or 3.3, and true lot consolidation of Parcel A Plan 68370, and Parcel A, Plan 72142, MLTO, through the registration of a new plan of survey. Mover,
Peter?
Peter Frey, seconder.
Don Fair.
On Fair. Any questions before we vote?
Andrew, if I could, I would also like to say, Mike, thank you for your investment into our community in a well plot out plan of growth that's going to serve your business well, it's going to serve our community well. And we especially love to hear the idea that you're building above what's needed to make sure that this thing is ready for your future growth. And it's going to be something that we in our community are going to be extremely proud of as well. So thank you very much for your investment into Winkler.
Ready for the question? All in favor?
Henry Siemens?
Reason?
And that is carried. And we took care of 14.5.
Go to 1411 now.
Okay. Be it resolved that public hearings be adjourned and regular council reconvene. Mover?
Michael?
Michael, seconder.
Don.
Thank you, Don. All in favor?
Henry
Reason?
Siemens?
That is carried. We have no other business on the agenda. Any questions from the media or public relevant to this meeting of council? Anything online? Okay. And be it resolved that this regular meeting of council be adjourned. Mover?
Peter?
Peter, seconder.
Come on, somebody help me out here, guys.
We want to stay here.
Michael?
There we go.
Thank you, Michael. All in favor?
Henry Siemens?
Don's reason.
That is carried. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.